Welcome back. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a really basic construct.net game. So this tool here is all browser based. It's called Construct 3. So the website is construct.net. And we're going to make a really simple game. We're going to start there, and then we're going to use Midjourney to generate the art that we can use in there. So this tool is a really good tool. It's very powerful, very simple. But it's a really good tool, especially if you're just starting off in game development. So if you go to construct.net first, that's step one. And you don't have to register or anything. You can use guest mode, although you will want to save your project at the end of it so you don't lose all your work. You can save to disk, but if you register, you can save to Google Drive or OneDrive or any other type of cloud-based service. But anyway, let's get cracking. So we're going to go to Launch Construct 3 here, and we're going to go launch the guided tour, even though we're not actually going to do the tour. Start downloading it, so we can take the tour, but we're not going to do it right now, so I go no thanks. And this is the dashboard, so there's a whole bunch of interesting things you can do here, like tutorials and instructions, but we're going to skip that. We're going to jump straight into making a game. So I'm going to go new here, like this, new, and I'm just going to type in here test for test project. We can change these names, don't worry about anything else. I will tick optimize for pixel art because we'll make a really simple pixel art game in a moment, and we'll go create. So you may have seen some of our previous tutorials where we made a top-down shooter. So a lot of it is the details are in some of our other tutorials. But for today, I'm going to shoot through. I'm going to assume you know some of the basics already. Otherwise, you can just slow down the video and take a look through. So I won't explain every single element in Construct for this particular tutorial. So if you want to, you can look at our other tutorials for the top-down shooter to get a full breakdown on what each of the individual things are. So right, we're going to jump straight in. We've got a canvas here, and we're going to start making a game. So the type of game we're going to make is a platformer, a little bit like a Mario Brothers type game. So the first thing we want is to create a character. So I'm going to create a character here. I'm going to right click on anywhere on the canvas and click on insert new object. Then I'm going to look for sprite. There's sprite. And I'll do a little stick figure. So this is a placeholder. We're going to get rid of this in a minute, but just so we know where it is. So there's our character. I'm going to close this. I'm going to call that player. And we'll shrink that down a little bit because this, as you remember, the dotted area is where the camera is. So make that sort of a bit smaller. Now we're going to give it some controls. So I'm going to click on this behaviors here, and I'm going to add a behavior. And for this one, we're going to give it platform. So if we scroll down a bit under movement, there's platform. So now you see platform is in the behavior list. So you can close that, which is great. Now if we hit play, this guy will just fall through the ground because he's got nothing to stand on. So we're going to add a little platform. We're going to go insert new object. Again, we're going to do sprite. Sprites are just game objects. This is going to be the platform. Again, we're not going to spend too much time drawing this. I'm going to use the fill tool and fill it straight in with a solid color because we're going to replace this stuff later as well. And I'm going to call this platform like that. Whoops, just correct that. Platform. And of course it won't do anything, so we'll give it a behavior, and that behavior will be solid. So if I was to hit play right now, I can use the arrow keys, and this guy here will run back and forth. The way I'm recording this is it's not going to see the pop-up, so you can hit play yourself, and you can see your guy jump down. You go left and right, you can also jump. There's only one platform, so add a couple more in here. And of course we can select it, go Control-C for copy, Control-V for paste. So paste a few of these around. Now if you'll remember, the camera is locked here, so we want the camera to actually follow the player. So it's a simple fix. We go to behaviors, so we select the player, select on behaviors, add a new behavior, and there's one here called scroll to. Scroll to. So the camera will always scroll to the player. So even if the player is outside of this top zone, the camera will always focus on the player. So wherever the player is, the camera will also move along the canvas as well. So we've got all the pieces now, which is wonderful. So the final piece we need are some enemies. So we'll right click anywhere, we'll go insert new object, we'll find sprite, and we're going to put in an enemy. Again, this is a placeholder, so I'm just going to do, whoops, an enemy placeholder like this, and we'll crank down the size, put a couple of these creatures around the place. Oops. So Control C and then Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. I'll just drag these platforms, make them a little bigger. So right now all of these, what I might do as well is actually put one platform right down the bottom so the player can't fall infinitely, just for now. And I might put the player actually down the bottom. So we'll pretend our goal is to get to the top right of the scene here. So not doing too much in the way of level design for now. Right. So actually, while we're on that, we'll give the player a graphic to head towards. So we'll go insert new object. So this object obviously won't really do anything. It's a sprite, but it's just a visual indicator where the player is to go. So I'll just again put a green circle in here, and this is of course will be replaced at the end. It doesn't matter really what this looks like. And so that's where the player has to get to, from bottom left to top right. So right now, the enemies won't really do anything. They just sit there, so that's kind of boring. We want them to have at least some basic movement. So there's a few ways we can do it, but we're just going to do a really simple one just so we can get up and running. We're going to select on the one of these enemies, or we can select it in here in the project window, which will select all of them, and we're going to give them a behavior called sine wave. This is just going to make them move left and right. So going to go sine, there we go. Great. So now they've all got sine wave behavior. So if you look here, this movement is horizontal, so it's going to go like this, back and forth, back and forth. I won't explain what all of these things do. These are covered in mathematics, so if you're learning mathematics at school, you might be covering some of this. But the period is just how long it takes to go through one cycle back and forth. Just going to make that 2. And for the wave, I'll change that to triangle. So right now it's a very sort of slow and gradual sort of movement, but I'm just going to make it go back and forth, back and forth. So once you have that, you can just hit play and take a look at it. You can see there on my preview screen, there's my guy that jumps around, and also now you see the enemies going back and forth. So yeah, really basic motions, and we're not accommodating for collisions right now, just to kind of get an idea. So mainly just how to integrate Midjourney into this. One other thing we'll do is we'll put in a background into this whole area here. So it's not we're going to create a separate layer. I'll explain why we're going to do that later on as well. We'll create a layer for the background. So go add layer at the bottom like this, and we'll call this background like that. And we're just going to put an image on the background layer, which will be the background image. So we're going to go right click, insert new object, and again sprite like that. And just going to do a solid color with a fill tool here. I might draw just a couple of just a couple of polka dot things, just so we know it's a background. So there it is, it's in the background. So the reason why you can't really see it is because there's a white layer on layer 0, which is where the games is. So if you click on layer 0, then it says here on the left there's a transparent tick box. If you tick that, now you can see what's underneath. Now why this is good is so we can actually lock the background layer so that you don't click on it by accident all the time, because it can get really annoying. But we just got to make sure we've selected layer 0, so anytime we add any more objects it'll go to layer 0. So from here, what we can do is essentially start replacing all the sprites with the stuff from Midjourney. So if you're still in the browser, we can start with the main character first, the main player. So I'm just going to think of something on the fly, and I'll say imagine. So remember, we're going to do imagine like this, and I'll say a funny cartoon dinosaur policeman. That's going to be my character, and I'm just going to go comma sprite pixel art like this, which will mean it'll be the nice blocky old style type of art, and I go comma white background, just so it's easier to remove the background from it. So I go enter, and we'll give that some time, so it's waiting to start. So we'll see here it's generated some really cool images. So yeah, I quite like these. So I quite like this top one. So I'm going to ask the Midjourney to basically upscale number 1. So it's going to make a much nicer image just of that one. So great, it's upscaled here, which is kind of cool. So you can either save this, so if you right click on it and save image as, or you can actually just copy it straight away. So I'm going to actually go copy like this, and I'm going to go back into our construct. Then I'll double click on our character, and I'm just going to go paste in here. Just go allow. And it might ask me to enlarge the canvas, which is fine. So I'm just going to enlarge the canvas to fit the size of this dinosaur. So we can use a tool called remove.bg to get rid of the background if it's a bit complex, but in this case it's not. It's pretty straightforward. So I'm actually just going to use the fill tool and then select one of these transparent fills. Then I'm going to click here, and it should get rid of a bit of the area. So it's not totally clean yet. So remove.bg would be better, but if we just want to do a quick one, we can just use the marquee selection, combination of that, and also using the fill tool. Or there's an erase key up here as well. There's an eraser. You can basically rub out some of it. So I'm not gonna go and make it super tidy today, but you can use remove.bg also to do a very much tidier version of it. But I'm just going to show you the simpler version. So here we go. Here's the dinosaur. It's going to be a lot larger. Yeah, see, because I resized the stick figure. So let me tidy that up a little bit. So there's the dinosaur. And now we can replace everything else as well. So we can replace the background. So I'm thinking another cartoony type style, another cartoon style thing. So maybe it's a zoo. It's a zoo, I guess. Or how about a prehistoric city? So we're gonna generate a background that's a prehistoric city. Again, pixel art, so that's going to be important. So this whole thing's going to be a background this time. So I'm going to go imagine. A city, a prehistoric cartoon city, and I'll go pixel art like this. So these look really cool. I could re-roll this, but I actually quite like number 3 here, so I'm going to upscale number 3. So here's the city. It's pretty cool. I'm going to right click there, and I'm going to copy the image. Going to come back to construct, and we're going to find the background, which is over here. This is locked at the moment, so you can either unlock this and then double click onto the background, and we're going to Control V to paste. So there we go. We've enlarged the canvas again, and we'll close that. So there it is. It's a little large, so we're just going to resize that to fit the actual canvas. So there we go. Just drag that up a little bit, and then we're going to lock the background layer again, select up here. One thing we will do quickly is we're going to do enable parallax scrolling. So if I go to the background here, if we look and I select the background, it says here parallax. This will mean how quickly it moves when you're going the other direction. So this will make it look like it's actually quite far behind. So it's a nice little effect. It's called parallax scrolling. So I'm going to go, let's say 20 by 20, like that, 20 by 20, and I'll show you how that looks like in the end. But that's a very cool little thing we can do. So for my enemies, I'm just going to do my enemies next. So I'm going to say imagine, and thematically this probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'll just say funny, mean, rock robot, and again pixel art and white background, like this. So quite like all of these actually, but this guy up here, number 2, seems cool, so I'll upscale that. So it's great, it's finished. Whoops. Looks like it's finished. I'm going to copy this one again, copy image. This time I'm going to click on one of the enemies. I'm going to paste, Control V, enlarge canvas, and I'm going to try and get rid of as much of the background as I can. So fill, and then use this. So again, we can use remove.bg, but I'm just going to just do a quick job. Today's objective is mostly to show you Midjourney and how we can incorporate that. So go ahead and close that. There we go. Make these a little smaller. Yep, so there's some of the robots. Make them a little smaller. And so we're going to replace the platforms now. So this is actually looking pretty tidy, which is quite cool already. So already we have original art for just about everything. So we're going to come back, and I think I'll do a rocky platform. So I'm going to type that in here as well. So imagine rocky platform. I'll just say, actually I'm going to say rock texture, pixel art, and I'll say 2D video game, like that. So this isn't exactly what I want, but we can still use this. So I'm going to take a portion of this one here. I'm going to cut out the rest, crop out the rest. So we can go ahead and copy this. We're going to come back into construct here, and we're going to edit one of these, and I'll go paste, enlarge canvas. So obviously we don't want this entire thing, so we just want a small portion in my case, because these will form the platforms, and I just want a texture. So I might just take this portion here. So I'm going to, with this marquee select, I'm going to select this portion, so from here like that, and I'm going to hit this crop button here. So it's going to cut everything else out. So I'm going to close that, and it's resized everything. So you're going to have to go in here and resize some of these, which is fine. So I'll just do a couple of them. I won't do all of them. Probably would have been a good idea to make that sprite a little bit similar to the size of the other one to begin with, but that's fine. So one thing you'll notice, it's a little bit hard to tell the background from the foreground. So one thing we can do to fix that is basically to lower the opacity of the background. So of the background here, if we go into the project side, we go background here, like this, we can reduce the opacity somewhat. So actually we can click on the background here, click the padlock to unlock it, or click on the background picture, and you'll see here there's opacity. So currently it's at 100%, so we can reduce that to say 50, so it becomes a bit lighter. That might be a little too light, so you might have to play with this. 70, maybe a little darker. 80. 80 is fine, yep. So we can at least distinguish the platforms and the actual background. So we can lock the background again, click on layer, and of course we want to make sure that the player actually has something to stand on, because we changed the image just now and it shrunk the floor platform. So I'm going to have to put another one down here like this and just make sure it covers the bottom like that. So if you hit play, you'll notice that all of your assets are there now. So you can see there the parallax scrolling, the background moves a little slower than the front. So that's kind of cool. So of course my platforms need some readjustment here. Yep, so there we go, and there's the goal. And of course we're going to replace that goal, but already within 5 minutes or so we've generated some art, all original art, and we've got a very simple platform game. So congratulations, you've got that all going. Just one other quick thing though. So you'll notice that if your player falls through the floor, you just have to check that the actual collision areas are set properly. So that's, if you open that up and you click on here, so this is fine now, but sometimes the construct tries to estimate where your actual collision area is. So it might be this, or it might be even smaller, so the player will actually fall through. So you've got to make sure that these nodes are dragged all to each corner, so it covers the entire box. The player can't fall through. That's one little thing to watch out for. But other than that, now you will have made a game in Construct and generated all of your own original art. So congratulations.